great guest that's coming on in a moment, Dr. Ken Druck. You are going to be inspired by a great author, an innovator, a pioneer in our world of bringing people together. How are you, Mr. Dr. Ken Druck, the pioneer, the wizard, my friend? And
How you doing?
I'm awesome. And the opportunity I think we have today, because this is Blue Ribbon Mental Health Month, and is that you're the pioneer in taking people from tragedy into opportunities to know. I think when I think of you, I think you are the soul trampoline that people can jump on. I thought about that just earlier. I said that, you have to fall into somebody's arms who has the wisdom that you have, uh, whether people of any age, uh, wherever they are in the world. How can we come together? How can we join together? How can we love each other? And you're a master of that from the inside out. You're a dear man, and I love that I saw your dog. What's your dog's name again?
Jack.
Jack. And I remembered honoring him with the blue ribbon at one time.
Yeah.
And I saw in your book, by the way, How We Go On, I have it right here. There it is. I saw Jack, and I remember being at your home when I was desperate to get some insight on the blue ribbon and the power of it. And you said it was the antidote to anger, violence, and self-destruction. And I went, you walk out with that kind of clarity and love. And what we're here for today is I would like to bring everybody listening into how it is with your new book, How We Go On, and everything that you have ever invested in your life in, of healing people and bringing people together, uniting. We're all about uniting humanity through the power of love, one child, one community, one country at a time. Unity is what we're about, but in this crazy world, how do you get people together? So why don't we start with that and see where we go? And whatever you want to say, we're all here to listen to you.
Sparky, the first thing that I think all of us need to do is to take a deep breath. Everything good starts with a deep breath. And because we're all in some way so heavy-hearted.
Wow.
We're living in a world of turmoil. So many of the things that those of us who are more yours and my age have been working for a half century to achieve and to help evolve the world into a more peaceful state, into a state of greater compassion, empathy, understanding, collaboration, finding that common ground on which we all live. My God, it isn't enough for us all to realize that we're breathing the same air. We live on the same planet. We're in the middle of this, not just one universe. We have Neil deGrasse Tyson telling us that there are universes. Yes. We're this tiny little anthill, and yet we strive to evolve from not being able to understand our differences, from not being able to process our losses or our fears or distrust, our need for love and closeness, companionship, and so on. So we're evolving, and we've worked for a half century trying to evolve and help people become the better version of themselves, help organizations, countries, nations, and our world become the better version of itself. So in the middle of a world that's at war, where we've moved in some ways back to the dark ages, where we are acting like barbarians. And I'm talking specifically about what was started in Israel, the assault, war that was started against Israel that has now evolved into something horrific. that we are living in a world, whether it's Ukraine, I'm named for my grandfather's brother, Kasil, named after him. He was a prominent attorney who was one of the first people Hitler killed because he was a Jew, and he was speaking out against what Hitler was doing, the racism, the anti-Semitism that he was perpetuating, the hatred that he was perpetuating. And here we are in a world where some of the same strains of hatred are being perpetuated through misinformation, through fear, and so on. So the first step is just to say, oh my God, it's like if I'm feeling confounded and mixed feelings and I'm not sure what I can do, how we become part of the solution, not part of the problem, then you're normal. Then you're going through what most all of us are going through. And I'm not talking about becoming the radical, extreme version of any side. Sometimes the quick fix looks like radicalizing into this group, which is against this group, and blaming this group for all the problems, rather than realizing I have a part. We all have a part in what we've created or what our world has devolved into. And it's my job to take responsibility for my part and to also make sure that I'm making decisions that put me on the solution side, on the side of peace, on the side of becoming the best version of myself and drawing out the best parts of other people. And that's the challenge. That's this what now moment, the what if and what now moment that we're all sitting in as inhabitants of this planet, of this nation, of this community, of this world, and of inhabitants of our own bodies and minds and spirits.
So let me ask you this question, because you've been in the middle of tragedy and are brought in to heal people who are that really are so broken and where it's so raw and so real. And I would like you to speak to that, how you bring those people together, that kind people together in that way. And the other way is where, like what you said, where we're both standing so fisted up and being right about everything and can't really hear each other, so that it's just white noise.
Yeah. The first step, I think, Sparky, is in listening to and understanding what the other person is going through and making room for that. Right now, I just met with a group of students, 25 students who came back from Israel. They were in their gap year after high school, taking a year in Israel, and then they're going to go to college.
Right.
They spent 3 months, their first 3 months of independence from their family, their parents, in Israel, studying how the Israelis could get along with the Palestinians, helping out, building irrigation systems to help the Palestinians, building solar power in Palestine, in Gaza, to help the Palestinians. And suddenly their friends are being murdered at a concert, being raped, gang raped. The people who are running their program are being kidnapped and murdered. And so the first step is to truly understand what they are going through.
Right.
They have, and there's no way to conduct a conversation about peace until we've started the conversation about justice.
Yes.
That justice has to be served. The people who did this, who murdered and raped and kidnapped, must be brought to justice. How they're brought to justice is the second conversation. Do we bring them to justice? How is that possible? And is our timeline for doing that under pressure, politically under pressure? Is it in the impulse of seeking vengeance and revenge? Because we all know, those of us who've worked in the field with people helping families whose loved one was murdered, and who are sitting in court after it's been decided by a jury that that person's going to die or they're going to spend the rest of their life in jail, that revenge has a false promise. The satisfaction that is promised when we seek revenge on those grounds is unfulfilled. It's a false promise because nothing brings our loved one back. What I worked with 25 years ago when I started the nonprofit foundation to honor my daughter,
right.
I worked with a group of Israeli and Palestinian parents whose children had been murdered by the other side. Except they were getting together to say, if you truly want to honor our children and their lives, you will help us prevent one other family from having to suffer what we suffer, because every day we are re-traumatized. Every day we miss them. We love them. We try to imagine how they died. We try to remember how they lived. We live in a hell with children who've been murdered. They say losing a child is the worst loss. These people have lost a child who has been killed by the other side. So the invitation to vengeance is there, but they're saying something different. They're saying honor is achieved by preventing one other family, Israeli family, Palestinian family, Ukrainian family, whatever, from having to suffer what we suffer, having lost a loved one, having lost a child. And so they tried to forge peace. They set up phone networks where they would talk to their Palestinian and Israeli counterpart. They tried to get to know and humanize themselves to one another, because when we stop being an Israeli or a Palestinian,
right,
we become a human being. We don't objectify each other. We become people. We become families. We become mothers and fathers and children and loved ones, husbands and wives. So humanizing and trying to achieve that level of peace is the second step. But unless we honor the first step to achieve justice with people who have murdered, people who have raped, people who have done things that are beyond wordly description, until we have achieved that, we can't enter a conversation into how to achieve peace. And then we need to look at, there's a tremendous challenge in the world. How do we not conflate the Palestinians with the barbarians in Hamas who committed these crimes and started this war? Right. How do you get the Palestinians to also hold these people accountable who are using them as human shields, who are hiding in their hospitals, hijacking their ambulances to escape and promote more war? How do we get that level of accountability in Palestine, in Gaza, with the Palestinians? How do we get them how do we differentiate them from their Hamas terrorists who are perpetuating this, whose goal it is to kill all the Jews? How do we change that around? And that is a very complicated, longer term political calculation.
I want to ask you this question, because one-on-one, everybody is in such terror and fear, and that fear blocks out, especially if you have a gun towards you, and you're a weak person, and you're going to save your kids and your mom's life, because if not, they're going to shoot you. They're going to shoot the whole family.
You could be a strong person having a gun to your head and still not know what to do.
So when we're talking about, this thing called bringing people together, the only way that I'm hearing you say this, we talked about breathing first for all of us. Just take a deep breath. And then all of a sudden, how can we individually do what we do in our own families? We're a politically divided country right here, and all of our energies are all over the world. So speak to that, and as a parent, a child being in this country right now where it's so divided, and how we can take that energetic, heighten our own energy here that might impact the world.
Let me tell you what I do,
Yeah.
because each one of us is in the advanced self-care class now.
Mm,
It's not enough to get a mani and a pedi or go out and get a massage.
right.
We are in advanced self-care where we have to find out how to keep ourselves balanced so we don't go off into the radical fundamentalist extreme where nobody's going to listen to us, want to listen to us.
Right.
Nobody will take us seriously.
Right.
Just going to have to go out and find more people who've radicalized at our extreme on
Exactly.
either side. So we need to take care of ourselves. I go out for a walk in the morning to start my day, and it's my meditation walk. And I ask myself several questions. The questions that are most alive for me right now, as I'm walking in nature and thinking, are how could I today, because every day is different. We wake up every day with new opportunities, new challenges. Today, how could I do something to put myself on the solution side, not to be perpetuating the problem, but the solution? What kindness might I be able to show? What strength might I be able to show? Might I dip into, my funds and send $250 to the Red Cross,
Right.
helping families in Israel and Gaza? What could I do to get on the side of peace and the solution side of this? So I start my meditation that way. The second thing is, what kindness and support do I need to show myself? Will I promise to show myself today?
Right.
Because until we keep ourselves balanced and until we replenish our energy, if we're watching breaking news and we are getting bombarded every second of the day with bad news, guess what the world is going to look and feel like? We need to come up for air. We need to unplug. We need to turn off the TV. We need to read Rumi. We need to read Sparky's book, Ken's book, read something that promotes the peace or gives me a sense of who in the world is doing something that's going to lead to the best result. And how can I support that person, cheer them on, encourage them, fight for them? So that's the second. And the last thing is that replenishes us is, who can I give gratitude to today? It could be thanking God for all the places in the world that are still at peace.
Right.
It could be thanking a mentor, a teacher, a brother, a sister, a parent, an uncle, an aunt, a leader, a world leader who seems to have, who's searching for a balanced way to bring people to the conversation that will bring peace, that will bring hostages home safely, that will end the killing. Who is doing that I can be grateful for? So it's cultivating peace in ourselves and in the world. And I try to think about and then act upon what I've come up with that are positive solutions. And each one of us is in a different position to do different things. Sometimes just creating it in our family is enough, or in our school, in our classroom is enough. With our synagogue or church or imam, or anywhere that we can touch people's hearts. And the other thing is, right now in a lot of school campuses, and I talk to kids at universities and high schools, what can I do to bring peace to my school?
Right.
Because a lot of kids at my school are radicalizing and writing things, tearing down pictures of kidnapped kids my age who we don't even know are still alive, or they're bashing their Islam, they're becoming Islamophobic and blaming every Muslim for what's happening, for what Hamas is doing and Hezbollah is doing. So how do I become part of the peacekeeping mission at my school? How do I go to the school, the leaders at my school or in the student body, and say, how can I support your efforts to bring peace and sanity back so that we're all working on common ground? We're all becoming part of the solution, not setting fires and becoming part of the problem.
what I'm learning from you all the time is you're right in the earth of it, and you're in the heart of it, and you're with people where they're at. You're not putting anything upon them. You're just a great listener, and we're evolving. We're the people that are evolving, and of course we have to take care of ourselves, like breathing and walking and meditating and all of that. I have a thought about that, but I also, because there's that old conversation, hurt people hurt people. And I've been watching this, and I'm seeing so much anger since COVID. It's like it's always been there, but it's all volcanic now. It's like people that were mad before were so mad because they're locked down and they can see what didn't work, and now they're hating themselves, but they don't know how to clear themselves.
Yeah, it's like giving everybody in the world a gun permit. It's instead, let's give everybody in the world a permit to be racist, to be anti-Semitic, to be Islamophobic, to be misogynistic. Hey, let's hate men too. Let's give everybody license and permission to drench the part of us that is full of fear and vengeance and judgment and condemnation, the darkest part of all of us. Let's license that part of us to express itself and spew hatred and venom and blame and condemnation on the world, rather than saying there are certain people that have acted with injustice. They have broken the laws of man, of government, of morality, of religion by committing acts. They need to be held accountable.
Yes.
The people who murdered and raped and massacred in Israel, that instigated all of this, that broke all of this loose, the people who are fanning the flames from self-righteousness and saying, I'm right, we should hate all the Jews, we should hate all the Muslims, we should hate, pick your favorite hate, instead of coming together and saying, can we find common ground? Don't we all want peace? Don't we all want respect? Don't we all want to be treated as human beings? Don't we all want to be known beyond whatever religion we ascribe to, whatever country we've lived in, wherever our parents were born, whatever we were born into, whatever color our skin is? Don't we want to aren't we willing to, it's amazing. An old speech by Bill Clinton, he said, 95, with all the genomics work that's being done that breaks us down into genes and DNA, 95% of us is the same.
Exactly.
And there's 5% of us that defines our skin as being darker or lighter, our hair or whatever, our appearance, our nose. These are such minuscule factors, and we act as if they are our totality. Don't we want to get back to finding that commonality on which we can create peace?
So here's what I want to relish with us. Okay. Relish is that we're in like something that in my lifetime haven't ever experienced. And for all of us, it's like, it's just everywhere there's a gun. Everybody wants to shoot and kill each other. Kids would rather kill themselves and commit suicide right now than stay in this world. I mean, that's catastrophic enough. But I have a thought, okay? And sometimes things that are so simple tend to bring people together. And this is the conversation that I started years ago with this Who I Am Makes a Difference Blue Ribbon is very interesting, because I was with the Bloods and the Crips, the Arabs and the Jews. I've been right in the middle of a lot of people, but I get them loving each other, talking about that. First, they do what you're saying. They have to get it out. They've got to be able to yell and scream and say, you killed my father, you did this to my, I mean, there's hurt that's so deep, if it's not acknowledged, it's just going to fester. But in that process, and Carl Rogers did this very effectively when he was at where am I reminding?
Humanistic studies.
Yes.
He was teaching at the University of Humanistic.
Yes, but I was at his 87th birthday, and he had just come from Belfast. Okay, and he did this. He said this. We were all sitting in this little place in right here in San Diego, leaning in, about 100 of us, and he had just come back, and he leaned in and he said, if we had a facilitator in every block of Belfast, this war would end tomorrow. He said, but I brought 50 kids and 50, from both sides. Yes. And I let them scream and yell at each other for the first 2 days. And then the third day I had them write on a flip chart what they hated about each other. And they both wrote it. And he said, then we stood back and we found out everything was the same. And he said, but first we had to let them all scream and yell. And then all of a sudden I had them sit face to face and tell each other stories back and forth for about 5 minutes each until they were all crying and hugging each other. By Friday, we could have solved the problem, but it can't sustain itself unless you have people that can continue to do that facilitation. And you're one of those people. And so I don't think anything is simple. I just think that love is missing and honoring and respect is missing.
And I think there's going to be a time that those of us who can convene those kinds of conversations can enter. And we need to be clear and not impatient about the fact that this is not that time yet.
Yes.
There will be people who are unlikely friends, who will be unlikely partners in these kinds of collaborations and love fests, where people are ready and willing to find their way back to one another and back to our commonality. So what we need to do is to do our best to help control the war and bring the war to an end. But not by disallowing the trauma and the horror and the violence and telling people the hidden message there is get over it, get on with it. Yeah. It's like, excuse me, if that was anybody's daughter who had been murdered and whose baby was ripped out of her uterus, or daughter was gang raped, and then photographed being bleeding between her legs. You can't ask somebody like that.
You can't.
There will be an inspired moment where they realize that the greatest honor they can perform in this life is to prevent one other family from having to suffer in this way, in this savagery, in this barbarism, in this dark ages way of operating, and that we are better than that. And when that time comes, we need to be poised. But in the meantime, we need to de-escalate our schools, our communities, our conversations, and our world, and encourage those few voices of leaders. I listened to President Obama speak last week. Those few voices in the world that have enough understanding of all sides and can speak to this and to follow those. And I think in many ways, President Biden is aspiring to be that kind of a voice, as are other leaders around the world, Zelensky. So I think we need to do that, and also not give as much attention to those people who feed the machine of division and hatred and racism and disinformation. We need to unplug from so many of the people that make great commercial television, because everybody watches and everybody buys commercial space, but we need to get disengaged from that crap. And that's what it is. It's crap. It's not the kind of leadership that we need going forward in the world. We need to aspire to the greater leaders and look to our young people who have that leadership in them
They
and
do.
help bring them into the foreground.
Yes, and so I have in the moments that we have, a few moments that we have left, I the great gift that you are to me and to everybody else is how we go on. That's your new book, yes? How we go on. And we're talking about, you're talking about compassion and courage. There he is, compassion and courage and gratitude on the path forward. Ken Druck, PhD. Okay.
And people can go to howwegoon.com if you want to find out more about the book or see a video or the endorsements that we've gotten. We've gotten commendations for Book of the Year. But go to www.howwegoon.com.
And we'll put that in when we will be putting this on social media. I think on next couple of days, Friday for sure. We'll have it, and we'll have that link on there so that everybody knows a way to get the book and even be able to follow you and listen to you. And in this moment of compassion, I want to honor you personally. I have a blue ribbon for you. It says, "Who I am makes a difference, Ken." For all of us that know compassion, it is you have to go through the eye of the needle to be compassionate, to see wherever everybody else is. And you are that. You hold that, and you hold the fever and the furor of, wait a second, this just not working, and we're all doing our best, and we've got to go to the leaders that matter and make a difference, and stand on the shoulders of each person's goodness and greatness. And you are that person. You are definitely that person, and we hang all together until we get to watch this in this lifetime or some other one. And we're just here doing the do, right? Would you accept this gift from me?
I accept it with such gratitude from the initiator, all these years, who sees and recognizes people and inspires the best in us. I receive it with the deepest gratitude, Sparky, and love.
I thank you. And do I have permission to place it on you virtually right now?
Yep. Oh yeah.
Okay. So let me show everybody where it goes. It goes above the heart, points up, always points up to your greatest dreams coming true. And the tradition is that there's cheerleaders in this ribbon, a community of cheerleaders jumping for your dreams. And in order to get everybody's jumping, it's tradition I take the spark from my heart and put it in the ribbon. It is the sound that makes dreams come true. And the sound is in a 1 and a 2 and a 3. Bing! B-I-N-G, bing. Lighten people up, give them a bing, and point to what is working, and be hanging around the great people on this earth who are lifting each other up and validating what is going on in the pain inside of us, and so that we can go to the place of gratitude and courage and conviction and in that meditation, whether we're breathing or walking or just speaking with each other or giving each other a smile or a hug, I think we all got to do that every day, and we all need that. And I adore you. You are amazing. Thank you so much. This is Blue Ribbon Mental Health Month. It is the first that we've ever done. In mental health is the issue in this country, at least, and we're let's be the trampoline and the souls for all people to fall into our bosoms. I got them, and just feel lighter and loving and have some freedom to grow and live and breathe and succeed for all of us. Yes.
Thank you, Sparky. Thank you for having me in your living room, and I welcome any contact or calls from anybody I can be helpful with. Please, I'm delighted to hear from you.
I will put this out to everybody. God bless.
God bless.
Take care.